Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Jackie Ellis. If you don't know who I am, my website is jackieellis.com and the link is down below in the description. I am an intuitive guide and mentor and Reiki master. I help people decode the energy within them and so that they can actually create a life that they love. And today's topic isn't something that I typically talk about. Today's topic is something that I actually was given in the early morning. I actually have not spoken very much yet this morning because I was divinely guided through inspired actions to do this video. And if you see my screen flickering, or if it whites out completely, it's because there are forces that are trying to stop me from talking about this topic. Okay. The video name that I was told to call this is called The Unspoken Truths About Addictions. There are many addictions that have been created over the years, over thousands of years, due to the belief that it feeds us in some way. And it does in some sense, but not in a good way. There are some addictions that I'm going to talk about that actually create more harm than good, but they're under the premise of perceived good, perceived connections, and perceived higher vibrational living. And it's not necessarily of the best interest for someone's journey. Most think that addictions are in the extremes. Most think that addictions are those you see spiraling out of control. But they don't necessarily consider addictions as something that keeps us at a lower vibrational state or a filtered state of living for our purpose. I was just given one more that I actually had for many years. I personally had an addiction to stress. And I had a very high tolerance to stress. So even though I knew how much I could take, when I look back now on my life that I lived for many years, it was an addiction to stress. Meaning that I avoided what I needed to work on. I avoided what I was feeling. I avoided other actions that were not healthy for me because it wasn't pushing me over that threshold that I had gradually increased over the years. It was an addiction to stress. There are a few more addictions that you may not think about. Some you may know in this list. Like food, addictions to food, addictions to drinks. Now, it's not always alcoholic drinks. Sometimes it's unhealthier drinks. Sometimes it is just the proportions of food and drink. If it's done in a lower vibrational state, meaning that you're eating to avoid a certain emotion, or avoiding to address a certain other habit or situation. If you just feel like if you were addicted, say pop, meaning you had to have large quantities of it over time, over a short period of time, and your daily habit of pop drinking has become uncontrollable. Meaning you can't give it up for 3 days or 3 weeks. I've had that. And I actually gave up pop altogether for probably 3 full months before I started introducing it occasionally back in. Because I knew at that point I had gotten rid of the addiction. I don't need it now. What about the addiction to disharmony? Meaning that when things are going great, you find yourself self-sabotaging the situation. So there's some sort of chaos, either within you or within the space that you're in. What if you find yourself in a place of peace because you've just worked out some things, and now you just start, you have this addiction to disharmony, so you have to look for something else. You have to look for the next thing to fix. That's an addiction to disharmony. Constantly focusing on lack in your life. Addiction. The need for acceptance from others. Constantly looking for acceptance and having to fit in everywhere. Having to be, when you're trying to build a business, constantly looking at the numbers. There's an addiction there. External power. This is a hard one. There are people that have addictions to external power, meaning they take power from others or exert their power towards someone else. They're projecting their energy out in a way that minimizes other people's power, or they feel so small and so victim centered in their own life that they are trying to take other people's power from them just to feed their own, to try and lift them up in some way. There's people that have an addiction to disempowering others or disempowering themselves. So they self-sabotage themselves, or they beat themselves up, or they put themselves in situations where they feel powerless. And it's a pattern. It's an addictive pattern that they find themselves in. Then there's the addictions to pill bottles and modern medicine, and not being willing to look at healthier ways of living through ancient medicinal or ancient healings, ancient healing practices. What about the addictions to religious indoctrinations? When we are closed-minded to other ways of living a spiritual life, living a spiritual journey. A spiritual journey has got nothing to do with religious indoctrination. A spiritual journey is about finding and developing that deep connection with your inner self. Because your inner self, your soul, is powered by our one source creator, and that's where the spiritual journey is. So if we're not willing to expand our thinking from the old religious indoctrination, we've got an addiction to it. What about a lack of trust? Refusing or finding you can't trust yourself, Adonai, or other people. Some people are addicted to not trusting themselves. That's a hard pill. It's a hard pill to swallow. There's some people that don't trust themselves but think they trust God. I have been shown time and time again, if we don't trust ourselves, we don't trust the energy that God is providing, lovingly providing for us, so we aren't trusting Him. What about an addiction to conditional love? That's right. Meaning you only can receive things under certain conditions. You can only express your love in certain conditions. That even the hardest things that you see people do to you or experience, you cannot send them love. You cannot forgive them. An addiction to the pain and trauma that we have held within us for multiple lives. And instead of allowing ourselves to love and forgive those involved in that pain and trauma, that unhealed energy, we keep it locked away. That's an addiction to conditional love. And when we do that, we're not even loving ourselves. Because if we were to do that love and forgiveness, we would free ourselves from all of that pain. There's an addiction to the good fight, meaning you need to defend. You need to defend others. You need to defend yourself. You need to defend, even to the point where you find yourself creating a defensive situation before it actually happens or is needed because you expect it to happen. What if you've got this expectation or this nudge from your brain because of the addiction that you needed to defend yourself or prepare yourself to be in a fight? What if you gave yourself space in those moments and walked away before you needed to do it. You wouldn't be in the line of fire if there was a fight, or if the other person was going to project something. And B, you wouldn't actually be projecting anything towards that person or harming them in any way with your own energetic need to defend or need to fight. And then there's the ones that are obvious. People that are addicted to drugs and hallucinogenics. But the ones that aren't obvious are the spiritual one, the ones used for spiritual practices. You know, all of these things, there's some sort of reason that we have accepted or believed to be able to use them, to do them, to stay doing those practices, stay doing those habitual actions. But what I've been shown is that every time we do those actions, we disconnect from discernment. Meaning, we lose our ability to discern the difference between light and dark. We lose our ability to discern between what is for our highest good and what isn't. We lose our discernment and disconnect from it in determining the shortest path towards our purpose. And we lose our discernment to the point where we disconnect from it so that it actually impacts our gifts that we have been given. In order for us to live life in a heart-centered space that is of positive polarity, meaning service to others, we need discernment. We need to know when we are doing things that is heart-centered and heart-aligned in a way that honors our own journey and other people's journey. Negative polarity is service to self. They can do these addictions because they don't care about the other person. They don't need to honor the other person's journey. They are all about just honoring themselves. But they're not even honoring themselves in a pure light way. They are all about gaining power over another person. They're about the extremes, gaining power over the other person or pulling themselves down into a very victim mentality. It is one or the other. The negative polarity I'm pausing because I'm getting clarity on this. No. Okay. Negative polarity is about empowering themselves only and disempowering another. So they're doing it as a way to, they think it's going to gain them power. So they will do the addictions as a way because they feel stronger, they feel powerful, they feel enlightened, they feel They feel that surge of energy within them, and they live off that. They live off that high. But it's a false high. It's a false light. It's an illusion to what it really does bring to their life in the long term. Every single one of these addictions does the same thing. So there's two things that happen when you are in these addictions. One, you disconnect from your discernment. And it makes it very hard when you don't have discernment, you're not able to live in flow with your heart-centered, heart-aligned life. Because you're not able to discern between what's actually truth and what's illusion. You honestly believe that the life that you are living is in alignment, but it may not be. The second is that you open yourself up to guides that are not, they're false light guides. False light guides. False light entities. And situations. Situations are created to harm you and will detour your path towards your purpose. Every time we are using these addictions because we believe this is the way towards living our life. This is the only way to work through a situation, work through our emotions. Here, it's like so many people, I had to use an hallucinogenic to spiritually connect to something, or I had to use those medicinal marijuana, or just to get through that trauma in my life. No, you didn't. In truth, that was probably not only an addiction to that belief that that's what needed to happen, but it also was a lack in trust in yourself in being able to do this without that crutch. Not being able to acknowledge what we are feeling for our emotions, not being able to face the truth about what we're being shown and release the energy behind it, not being accepting of different ways of healing that are actually ancient healing practices that are natural. Not believing that there are other ways that are actually deeply spiritual than what we've been taught in the religious indoctrination. All of these things, all of these addictions that I've mentioned today are going to detour everyone on their purpose. And when this new way of this new life, this new earth, this new 5D earth that we are about to experience, When we are on that experience, when we are living life in that way, we can't have these addictions. We will be asked to release these addictions. We will be asked to shed them so that we can live longer. And I'm not talking about just like 100 years. Like, way to go, we celebrate our 100th birthday. No, I'm talking thousands of years. What if life could be so much easier if we just got rid of these addictions? If we just shed them? What if we could actually connect with our gifts at a deeper level if we just shed these addictions? What if we could live life in peace and harmony if we just shed these addictions? What if? What if? I'm sending you all love. All love. Take care. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And I would love to hear your comments in the video or in the comments below. So drop a comment below and let me know what resonates with you and what you're going to commit to shedding for your addiction today. Because you know what? We all have them in some form. Take care. Love you all.